Hey guys, what's going on? JTK here, and in today's video, we're going to start doing a zombies tier list. And I know, very original idea, but I got this idea because I just saw horrible tier lists in the past, like Mr. Noah J456 and Mr. Telexify, and just thought that I could bring my correct opinion and the only correct opinion into this conversation here. And so we're going to be ranking this tier list by what I believe are the best criteria, being map layout. If the map is really good to train on, or if it's really good to camp on, then it is, in my opinion, a really good map. We're also going to be doing wonder weapons. If the map has a really good wonder weapon or wonder weapons, then it also gets some bonus points to bring it up higher on the list. We are also doing a boss and mini bosses, which means that if the map has really good bosses and mini bosses, then it'll also get pushed up higher on the list, makes it a good zombies map. And we're also going to be doing the Easter egg in total as well. If the map has a really good Easter egg, obviously that's gonna bring it up some points as well. And with these just four straightforward criteria, it's gonna obviously bring out the best in each of the maps with no nostalgia included. I'm looking at you, World at War. But anyways, yeah, let's just jump right into it. Alright, so we're going to start this off with Nocturne Totem, and with Nocturne Totem, obviously it was the first map of all time, so there's not much to it, like there's no Easter egg and there's no like mini bosses or bosses and whatnot, which isn't going to drop it down any points, but we are going to rank it on the other two criteria, which is map layout and wonder weapon. The wonder weapon being the ray gun, which during the time, like, nobody knew what it was called. People were calling it the zap gun. I had a friend call it the wave gun or something weird. Uh, but yeah, overall, I think Nocturne Totem in terms of map layout and wonder weapons and just for the overall zombies experience, it's kind of just basic and whatnot. I think it's just going to go in the C tier for now. I might switch it up later, but yeah, I think C tier is where it belongs. Alright, and for our next map, it's going to be Verrückt. I already had it pulled up, but for me, Verrückt is, I don't know, not too much different from Nocturne Totem in terms of gameplay and whatnot. Obviously, they added in perks and power switches and movable blocks for the first time. That's pretty much new with it though. Other than that, it is kind of the same as Nocturne Totem, being a box map with just the ray gun. But for me personally, I always found Verrückt as being one of my personal favorite maps. It's just kind of like my go-to World at War map when I want to get to high rounds and whatnot. And just for that point alone, I think I'm gonna put it in the A tier. Like, I know that's probably very controversial, but yeah, that just goes in the A tier for me because it is just one of my personal favorite maps. All right, then Shinonuma. For me, Shinonuma, not really one of my favorites. Hate the mud with the map layout. It's not really, I don't know, I guess movable in a sense. It's hard to move around on Shinonuma with all the mud everywhere and whatnot. For me, it's not really a high map either. What does save it from being in D tier, though, is that it did introduce the Wonder Waff, which is a pretty cool wonder weapon, obviously. But yeah, other than that, personally not one of my favorites either. They did introduce the first mini boss zombie too, which is the dogs, which is also a very good one. But yeah, for me, just not a personal favorite. I'm gonna put it right above Nocturne Totem though on the tier list, and yeah, we're also gonna be ranking it on like if it's further to the left, it means it's better. So for me, I like Shinonuma a little bit more than Noct, but they're interchangeable. I don't really care. All right, Durice, very big one. Obviously added in like Pack-a-Punch, which did help all the weapons, not just the wonder weapon itself as well. Very good map layout. You can camp on top of the catwalk, classic, and you can also just train around, like right below the catwalk too. Very, very good map layout. Obviously, being the first map to introduce Pack-a-Punch, it goes definitely in the S tier for me. As we fill out the S tier a little bit more, though, I feel like it's going to be lower on the S tier, but yeah, definitely. I mean, it's Dries. What'd you expect? Alright, next up on our list is going to be Kino Return Black Ops 1, which is not the best map of all time. It's definitely uh, pretty much just a Durice copy, but worse. In my opinion, I think the Durice map layout is better than Kino, not by much, but I do think it is better. In terms of wonder weapons, they did add in the Thunder Gun, which is pretty cool. Definitely a fan favorite wonder weapon. For me though, I never really enjoyed Kino that much. If I were to place it on the list somewhere, didn't really innovate much from Darius. And if we're talking about mini bosses, oh boy, the Nova Crawlers, yeah, those are kind of an L. Um, I'm gonna put those. I'm gonna put Kino to Totem like right behind Noct. Um, again, just kind of like an average map. I would play it from time to time. Personally, not my favorite. Again, avoiding nostalgia. It's definitely not as great as people think it is, and for that reason, I'm gonna put it in C. All right, 5. So with 5, it's the on this map that came with Kino to Totem, and honestly, I do like 5 more than Kino. I will admit. And there's a lot of things that 5 does better, but also a lot of things that it does worse. It's more for the hardcore zombie players. Like, going to around 100 on 5 is much harder than going around 100 on Kino to Totem. So, yeah, it is for the hardcore audience and whatnot, so it didn't get much attention when it did release for the first time. But it's grown on me a bit. And 5 I'm going to put in the B tier. For me, the map layout, even though it's hard, I do like it. It's like a fair, challenging hard. I like training down in like the Pentagon room. It's a good map layout. It's just it is very hard. I don't like the teleporters that transverse around there though. That's kind of annoying. But another thing that it does worse than Kino though is the Wonder Weapon. Like Winter's Howl is an L. Um, they did introduce the Pentagon Thief as well. Do like the Pentagon Thief. I think it's a great boss. Other than that though, I think 5 is just an overall just like slightly above average map for me. I will play it with friends. I'll play it solo. Overall though, I think 5 is a decent map. Put it in a B. Alright, next up we got Ascension. And Ascension, right now I'm just going to put it slightly above 5 in the B tier. For me, Ascension has always been just a good map to hop on co-op with. I like playing with friends a lot. There are some problems that I have with it though, like the mini bosses, the monkeys that were introduced on this map. Very fucking annoying. Hate them all. Other than that though, the map layout's pretty basic. I do like the starting room. I remember I did a starting room challenge on there. I think I got to like round 50. Very good starting room. Other than that though, yeah, Ascension, just not one of my favorite maps, but not a bad map by any means either. B tier. Alright, Call of the Dead. It's not S. It's not A. B. I think I'll put it like the bottom of B. I know if Lex ever sees this video, I'm probably on his hit list now. But yeah, Call of the Dead, not one of my favorite maps. The Wonder Weapons kind of suck. George Romero can be pretty annoying sometimes. Map layout's really good. I will give it that. The map layout's pretty solid, but other than that though, it didn't really catch my senses for it. Not really one of my favorite maps. The map looks also pretty ugly as well, with the fog in the background and whatnot. Just yeah, for me, again, not one of my favorites. For me, BO1 is kind of just like all B or C tier maps. And then World at War is like half the maps are good and then the other half are just pretty meh. But yeah, for me, Call of the Dead is kind of just a B tier map, nothing much else. Alright, next up, Shangri-La. Map layout, it's, again, it's sort of similar to 5 in a sense where it's really hard, but it's not particularly bad. I would say the map layout is worse than 5, but still a pretty good map layout. The Easter egg is a lot of fun to do as well. The Easter egg is very good, very story-driven based. This is kind of like the first Easter egg I got into. I know Call of the Dead and Ascension, they both had their Easter eggs, but for me, Shangri-La was like the first one that I really started getting into the Easter eggs a lot with. Wonder Weapon, phenomenal. I would say top 5 Wonder Weapon of all time, maybe even like top 3. Baby Gun is just amazing Wonder Weapon. When it comes to mini bosses though, that's kind of where the map falls a little short. I don't really like the Napalm or the Shriekers. I just find them more annoying than just like a challenge from time to time. Monkeys were pretty fun though. A lot better than the ones on Ascension. For me, I'm putting Shangri-La in the A tier. Yeah, I guess another like really controversial one, but when you look at it through that aspect, Shangri-La is actually like a really good map. And yeah, I think does belong just in the A tier, right behind Varuk though. For me, Varuk personally, I just like a lot more. But yeah, that's just. And closing off with Black Ops 1, we have Moon. Now, Moon, for me, um, is it better than Shangri-La or Varuk? I wouldn't say so. I would say that it is better than Ascension though. I think I'm gonna put it like right above Ascension. Now with Moon, the map layout is pretty bad. Nothing really great about it. It's pretty hard to transverse. Plus, like, I try my best to avoid the zero gravity zones. I don't really like them. But the Wonder Weapon is pretty cool. I like the wave gun. I like the zap gun variants with it too. It's a very fun Wonder Weapon. I think that's kind of like where BO1 had like its strong suit for the most part was with the Wonder Weapons. Um, Easter egg though, I do like the ending. I think it is one of the best endings we have gotten to a zombies map, like almost ever. And for that, I think it does go in the B tier above all these other Black Ops 1 maps, but for me, I can't avoid like the gameplay flaws that it has with it being on the moon to put it any higher. So yeah, for me, Moon's gonna be in the B tier. Alright, and starting off with Black Ops 2, Transit, yeah, I'm gonna put it in the F tier. Obviously, notorious. When you think of Transit, if it is your favorite map, I'm guessing Activision Blizzard has a gun to your nutsack and is forcing you to say that. Uh, it's Easter egg, horrible, one of the worst. Mini bosses, denizens, and the Avogadro, some of the worst. The Wonder Weapon, the jet gun, is the worst. And then you also have just horrible map layout with the map being way too big. And I know some of you might say, oh, well, it's fun to play with friends and whatnot. Well, I mean, doing anything is fun to friends. Like, snorting crack out of your asshole is fun with friends. So, I mean, for that reason alone, Transit F tier. Probably the lowest in F tier, but there's one more map maybe that might go behind it. But yeah, Transit F. Alright, and then after Transit, we have these 3 survival maps right here. I'm gonna go through these ones pretty quick because I don't think they bring too much to the table, except Town though. Town is one of my personal favorites. It is the first map that I ever did play. I remember playing Town way back in the day when Black Ops 2 first came out. That was my first map, so it has a special place in my heart, but I don't know, it didn't really do much to push it up into one of these lanes, and I'm not gonna let nostalgia blind me, so for that I'm gonna put it in B, just right above 5. Farm, I'll put it in D, and Bus Depot, I'm gonna put it in F as well. Yeah, Farm, the only thing that it has above Bus Depot is the fact that it has perks. Other than that though, not really too much special with both these maps. Map layout, wonder weapons, there's really not much innovation there, or there's none at all. So for that, yeah, I think those are where those 3 maps belong. I did also forget Nuketown. It does kind of go in with all these other ones. For me though, I do like Nuketown more than Town. I did play it a lot more back in the day when it did originally release. I just like Nuketown because it's kind of like boot camp for zombies. If you want to get better at zombies, just play Nuketown. It is a challenge, but fair challenge. And spawns are pretty fast as well, so yeah, if you're just looking at like a map that you just want to get better at zombies in general, then just play Nuketown. Really good map for that. But after that though, we do have Die Rise, and Die Rise is slightly better than Transit, but not by much. I'm gonna put it right behind Farm. Die Rise, again, it suffers the fate of having a horrible Easter egg like Transit. The jumping jacks aren't really a good mini boss either. They're pretty bad, so yeah, there's that. The only redeeming factor that puts it one tier above though is the Sliquifier. Pre-patched, best wonder weapon of all time without a doubt, but nowadays it's kind of just it still is a good wonder weapon, but I don't know, just not one of my favorites. Plus you can kind of kill yourself with it if you don't use it right, so yeah, I think Die Rise does belong in the D tier, and yeah. Alright, anyways, next up on this list, this is where Black Ops 2 takes a turning point and we get just banger after banger in terms of maps. We first have Mob of the Dead, which in terms of the Easter egg is definitely an S tier map. I am going to throw it in the S tier for now though, because it is arguably one of the best maps of all time. But for me personally, I don't like it enough to guess I keep it up there, so I'm going to drop it down to A. Yeah, thinking of it now, I don't know what is it with Mob of the Dead. I do like it, but it's not one of my favorites. Like I said, the Easter egg is really good, but other than that, I don't know. There's not much that I really like about it. People will say that like the story's good, but I'm not much of a story guy with Mob of the Dead. The map layout's really cool. I do like how it gives off like the horror vibe that Zombies been missing for like the past couple of years. But yeah, for me, Mob of the Dead isn't incredible, but it is one of the best. And I'm gonna put it in A. I might change my mind later down and put it like a low S, but for now it's an A. And next up we got another banger of a map, Buried. I'm gonna put it right behind Mob of the Dead. And Buried, yeah, it's one of those maps that like Jimmy Zielinski was high off crack with these two that he made down here, but then he came back with Buried, and it started to make me kind of like the Victus crew, which up until this point I thought would be impossible. But yeah, Buried in terms of map layout is pretty good. The map layout could be a little bit better to transverse, but it makes up for it with having a great wonder weapon, being the Paralyzer. Just wish it did some more damage for higher rounds though. Other than that though, Buried is just a fun adventure map to play by yourself or with friends or whatever. And yeah, it's Buried. Alright, and closing off with Black Ops 2, we have Origins. I'm going to put it in the S tier. In terms of wonder weapons, obviously we haven't seen something as amazing of the staffs up until this point. It was, I guess, the first map to do like the 4 elemental wonder weapons, and it executed it perfectly in terms of that. The Easter egg is obviously one of the best. There's people still speedrunning it today and whatnot. Map layout could be a little bit better in terms of like transitioning around the map. I find it annoying to have to constantly move the gramophone around and how useless the tank can be. But the map layout is still pretty good, one of the best. And in terms of like side bosses, this was the first map to introduce the Panzer, which obviously is one of the most iconic bosses of all time. And for that, yeah, I think Origins does belong in the high S tier. Alright, and starting off with Shadows of Evil as our first BO3 map. People weren't too accepting of Shadows of Evil when it first launched, but looking back at it now, it is one of my favorites. I do like it more than Origins, I would say. I haven't done the Easter egg as much. I think the Easter egg is a little bit lacking behind Origins, but it makes up for it with an incredible map layout. It's pretty easy to transverse around using Beast Mode, and then you also have the Tram to take you around very easily. In terms of wonder weapons, the Apothicon Servant, just a phenomenal wonder weapon. In terms of side bosses, Margwa, I would arguably say is one of, if not the best side bosses ever. And then you also have the Shadow Man as like, I guess the final boss fight, which was Treyarch's first attempt, so I won't give him too much hate for it, but it is a little bit lacking in that department. Overall though, I think Shadows of Evil is arguably one of the best maps of all time. And moving on to another arguably best map of all time, we have Der Eisendrache, which I'm going to put right above Shadows. For me, Der Eisendrache is, I would say, my best map of all time. Personally, my most favorite, which isn't a shock to many people because it is most people's favorite map of all time. It does everything great, but nothing perfect, I would say. Like, it has a really great map layout. With the Wonder Spheres, it's easy to transverse. And then it also has the 4 elemental bow concept that was taken from Origins, so there's that as well to back it up. I do love the boss fight though and the Easter egg. The Easter egg does have a little mishap though, where you have to do the whisk step multiple times, but other than that, it is definitely worth it to do the boss fight. For me, I think it is one of the best boss fights in Zombies, but overall, I would say Der Eisendrache is my personal favorite map of all time. There might be 1 or 2 down here though that might beat it. But yeah, for me, Der Eisendrache, best map. And now Zetsubou. Zetsubou, it's definitely a fall from these 3 giants up here. It's definitely not as good as those, but it's not as bad as them either. For me, Zetsubo, I'm gonna put at the top of B. I do like Zetsubo no Shima. The Easter egg is pretty fun. It's just the setup and process of doing all of it. It kind of blows. Um, Overall, though, I would say it is still a great map, but it is definitely the weakest in Black Ops 3. So for that, I'm gonna keep it in the B tier, just above pretty much almost all of the Black Ops 1 maps. And coming up next, we got Gorod Krothi. For me, not an S tier map. I would say it is top of A though. Gorod Krothi has a really great boss fight and a great Easter egg to go through. There are a couple steps in the Easter egg that I don't like, however. The map layout as well can be a little confusing for new players. The Wonder Weapon, I do love it up until like round 50. So that's kind of how I feel about Gorod. It's like, I really love a lot of the things about it, but then there's always a drawback with those things that I love about it. So for that, I'm going to put it in A, just above like Mob of the Dead and Buried. I do still think it is like an incredible map and a great map, but definitely not up here with some of the grades. Alright, and we're going to finish off Black Ops 3 with Revelations. And Revelations, as a final map to Black Ops 3, it probably wasn't the best. The Easter egg's a bit lackluster. I don't know, I don't really like the bone step when it comes to the Easter egg and whatnot. Most of the Wonder Weapons as well were pretty just recycled or reused assets. I don't like how the Specialist even, they just used the Ragnaroks again. Overall though, it's not a bad map. It's just I don't like the fact that it's all just reused assets that kind of set that standard for Black Ops 4 and games beyond that just remastering crap is what people are going to buy. So for that reason, I'm going to put it right behind Zetsubo. Still a great map, but yeah, definitely not one of my favorites. Alright, and starting off with our first non-Treyarch Zombies game, we have IW with its first map of Zombies in Spaceland. And Zombies in Spaceland, phenomenal map, I will say. The Easter egg is really fun. I do like the alien boss at the end, and it does take the 4 Wonder Weapon concept from Origins. Not as best as Origins or Horizon Track, but it still is pretty fun. Overall, when I think of like Zombies in Spaceland, it's just fun. Like the map layout, it works around everything that Lee Ross is trying to go for and whatnot. And for that, I do think it does deserve the S tier. Not as good as some of these other S tier maps, but definitely a great map for sure. And one thing that I do notice about these non-Treyarch zombie maps like IW and then World War II later on is that they start off really strong with really great maps. They start off really strong, and then as the DLC carries out, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So for that, I'm going to put Raven the Redwoods at the bottom of C, Shaolin Shuffle right here at D, Attack of the Radioactive Thing right behind it, and then Beast from Beyond right in front of Transit. And Raven the Redwoods is an okay map. Same 4 Wonder Weapon concept. This is kind of when people started getting tired of that concept with having 4 Wonder Weapons. The boss fight was really cool at the end. Other than that though, nothing really memorable about it. And yeah, I don't know, I just didn't really like the way that Rave looked either, so there's that. Shaolin Shuffle, again, another 4 Wonder Weapon elemental map. You can see where IW got their inspiration from. But yeah, Shaolin Shuffle, the Easter egg's just a lot worse. The boss fight can be annoying sometimes. Map layout's really not that great or memorable. Like, I got lost trying to build Pack-a-Punch or find certain perks. Like, the map layout's just that bad. And then after that, Attack of the Radioactive Thing. Yeah, again, just not a great map. I do like the boss fight in the end Easter egg though, but the Wonder Weapon is god awful. I hate the Wonder Weapon. And then Beast from Beyond just takes IW and throws it off a cliff because the boss fight's horrible. The Wonder Weapon is just taken over from Extinction and it's bad. Like, it doesn't even really feel like a zombies map. It just kind of feels like an Extinction map more than anything. And just overall, just not that memorable. Besides the fact that you get Mephistopheles at the end. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to place the IW maps. I think it's all pretty fair. It started off like really strong, like I said, but then it just got worse and worse throughout the DLC season. And yeah, that's just IW. And magically, when I was doing World War II, I completely forgot about Exos, and for good reason, because I haven't played Exo Zombies. I think I might have played like one of these maps once in terms of Exos, but I don't remember, nor do I care. So there's that, and then I also have the Frozen Dawn and the Tortured Path from World War II down here as well, because like midway through World War II, I just got sick and tired of playing World War II zombie maps. But it did have a strong start, like most non-Treyarch Zombies maps, with the Final Reich. And the Final Reich, I'm gonna put, I'll put right behind Mob of the Dead. It is a great map, and it does do like a huge innovation with the Easter egg with the journal and whatnot, like how they have a hardcore and then an easy Easter egg. I do like that a lot about the Final Reich. Other than that, though, it's just the same 4 Wonder Weapon concept, copy and pasted over from Origins and DE. Map layout, the map layout was alright, not one of my favorites, but then you also have just like horrible mini boss zombies like the Wustlings. Those guys were like really annoying. But then you also have some pretty decent ones like the main boss, like Panzer Mortar, and then you also have the I forgot what like the explosive ones were called, but yeah, Final Reich is a good map and was a very strong start for World War II, but then unfortunately everything just fall apart with these next ones. Like we have the Darkest Shore. Yeah, that's gonna go down into D tier. I'm gonna put it right behind Die Rise. I just did not like this map. I was trying to do the Easter egg and I just couldn't. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it behind Die Rise, close to the bottom. Not as bad as these maps, but it is a bad map. Shadow Throne though, I'll put in C. I'll put above Raven the Redwoods. I do like the Shadow Throne. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't like the Morse code step that was like midway through with this map. Plus, it was like way too heavily reliant on like melee weapons and whatnot. Overall, just not like a great map, not a bad map. And then like the rest of the season, I just completely gave up on World War II. For a good reason, because apparently like Tortured Path is one of the worst maps, and then Frozen Dawn also isn't that good either. So yeah, that's World War II in a nutshell for you. Alright, and starting off with our next game, we got Black Ops 4. And Black Ops 4, it launched with 4 maps at launch. People say that it was a bad thing. For me, I didn't really mind the 4 maps at launch. I thought it was actually pretty cool. I didn't really get the argument why people argued that like more content was bad, but that's besides the point. Anyways, with Voyage of Despair, I think I'm gonna put it. It's not as bad as everyone think it is. It's not that good either though. I'll put it at the top of C. It's Easter egg. Like I said, people say that it has a really bad Easter egg, but I don't think it does. The only step that I do kind of don't like is the planet step. Other than that though, all the other steps are actually fairly easy to do, not too bad. And then it also has like a really good boss fight at the end. What kind of ruins it for this map though is that it has the Kraken Wonder Weapon, which kind of blows. Map layout is really awful for new players. But yeah, other than that though, really strong Easter egg. I do like the Stokers and the Blightfathers for the Chaos maps, but I don't like the what are those fucking elementals called or whatever. Those guys, they suck. And for that, I think Voyage of Despair goes there. Classified, for me, it's like interchangeable to 5. Where's 5? I'll put it right up below or above 5. I'll put it below. For me, I think removing the Pentagon Thief was kind of a mistake. But other than that, though, they're pretty much the same maps. The map layout's a little bit different on Classified because you have like that back room open. Other than that, though, I mean, Classified's not that great. Didn't really stand out too much unless you were a hardcore Zombies fan. Then we have Blood of the Dead. Controversial one for sure. In my opinion, Blood of the Dead is a great map. And I know a lot of people give this map so much hate because of the Easter egg and whatnot. But I don't hate it. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. Is it a hard one? Yes, but I don't think it's like bad. The only step that I really don't like that much is maybe the Morse code step, but that one, no, not really. Like, yes, some of the Easter egg steps are really hard, but just because the steps are hard doesn't mean it's necessarily bad in a way. I don't know, I never understood the hate for Blood of the Dead. I know a lot of people hate it and would put it like somewhere at the F, but for me, I do love Blood of the Dead. I think it is a great map. And people are gonna kill me for that one, but next map with 9. For 9, I don't like it as much as Blood. I'm gonna put it bottom of A. I think the map layout was really good. The Easter egg was really good. Again, I think the biggest problem with most Chaos maps was the mini boss zombies. I don't like the gladiators and whatnot. Nothing wrong with them as like a whole. It's just they spawn so frequent in the higher rounds that it just becomes really, really annoying. So for that reason, it's like the bottom of A though. But everything else about the map was pretty cool. I did like the Easter egg, like I said. The Wonder Weapon was cool. Wasn't one of the best, but it was cool. And yeah, that's kind of just like the start of BO4. Moving on to these next ones though. With the start of BO4, it was already looking in a somewhat rough spot. I didn't mind it, but it definitely started to fall apart with the launch of the first DLC 1 map, which was Dead of the Night. In terms of marketing, Dead of the Night. Hello. Okay. In terms of marketing, Dead of the Night, definitely like an F tier in terms of marketing. But other than that, I don't think it was too bad of a map. I'll put it above Voyage of Despair. I do like the Wonder Weapon. The Easter egg's pretty fun. Map layout, sort of similar to Derice, where you have like 3 separate parts. And yeah, talking about it now, I'm probably gonna put it up in like B. I'll put it at the bottom of B though. It's interchangeable between above Voyage of Despair. But yeah, I don't think Dead of the Night was too bad of a map. Only thing I don't really like is the characters. But yeah, you can just turn the audio off and it's not that bad. But after that, we have personally one of my favorite maps. Do I like it more than DE? I'm gonna put it below. Ancient Evil has a really great Easter egg. Great with the storytelling as well. Kind of brought people back into loving Chaos maps, which I do like. A great map layout. It's similar to Garage in a sense where you have like 2 separate areas that you can hop between. Wonder weapons are really, really fun too. The gauntlets are arguably the best of the elemental ones, if only they had more ammo. Overall, I do think Ancient Evil is one of the best of all time. Definitely a top 3 for me. For that, I'm going to keep it in the S tier right here. Alright, and then closing off with BO4, we have Togger Totem, and then Alpha Omega. Where's Alpha Omega? There it is. Okay, so we're going to start with Alpha Omega. Not one of my favorites. When I think of Alpha Omega, I just think of a recycling bin, because I'd say about 90% of all the stuff in Alpha Omega was ported over from either Blackout or from previous Zombies maps, like the Wonder Weapons. Elemental ray guns, not very innovative, not really fun. You don't even need them for the Easter eggs, so I end up never building them. I'm going to put it right behind Rave. I don't really like the map. In terms of the Easter egg, the steps aren't really that fun. It kind of copies like the Garad Crovey challenges stuff, but in like a much worse way. And for that, I think it belongs in the C tier, just below Rave though. Not too bad, but not one of my favorites either. And then Togger Totem. I do like this map. I think it's above Zetsubo. I do like the Easter egg. Don't really like the ending that much. It does well with like the mini boss zombies, like bringing back Hellhounds. You can never go wrong with Hellhounds, I guess. But other than that, though, the Wonder Weapons are kind of whatever. An improvement from Call of the Dead, but not like great. Yeah, for that though, I think Tog is like A good map, not one of the greats though. Alright, now Cold War. D Machine, it was a good map to get people to start playing Cold War. It brought in a huge audience. Like, I think NoahJ had a video with like 7 million views on it. This map, in terms of like bringing in new people, definitely like an S tier. But as a map itself, it wasn't that great. It was kind of just the mechanics that carried it for the most part. The map layout is alright. The Easter egg is alright. The Wonder Weapon is pretty cool, especially after they buffed it. I'm going to put D Machine at the top of B. I think it is a great map. Like I said, it's similar to like Horizon Jack in a sense where it does everything good, but nothing like great or amazing in a sense. So yeah, I think B is kind of where it belongs. Moving on to the next one. Where is it? Firebase Z. I don't think it's too bad. Again, a good majority of all the Cold War maps are kind of just meh. But Firebase Z, the Easter egg I didn't really like the boss fight towards the end. Like, I think the big weakness on this map was the mini bosses and bosses. Like the mimics, there's way too many of them, and they can get really annoying. And then the actual boss itself kind of sucks. For that itself, I think I'm gonna put it at C. I'll put it above Voyage of Despair. I think that's a pretty fair placement for me. I think it is the weakest of all the Cold War maps, but yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Next zombies map though, Mauer to Toten. So with Cold War, they had like a huge break in between Firebase Z and Mauer because of Outbreak, and Outbreak was fun and all. I don't think it's on this list anywhere that I could see, but if I were to rate it real quick, we'll take, I guess, we'll take Shangri-La Chronicles. This will represent Outbreak. Outbreak I'll put at like, I'll put it above Firebase Z. I do like Outbreak. The Easter egg was pretty fun and whatnot. But yeah, it was kind of just a placeholder for another great map to come out, which was Mauer to Toten. Oh, where is it? There it is. And Mauer to Toten, I'm gonna put right above 9. It has a really good boss fight, a pretty fun Easter egg to do. Like, I love the uranium step where you have to collide the 2 pieces of uranium together. That was pretty cool. A really fun Wonder Weapon as well. The map layout, it's good. It definitely does elevation a lot better than Die Rise, like with all the zip lines and stuff. It really helps. And then you also have stamina up tier 5, so you can just jump off the buildings and whatnot if you do want to. Overall, I think Mauer to Toten is a great map, and right above 9 I think is where it kind of belongs. And closing off with Cold War, another climactic ending like Revelations. Forsaken, not a great map. I do like the Easter egg and whatnot. The Easter egg is a little easy on the side though, but the boss fight's pretty fun. The Wonder Weapon also really cool. I think the Wonder Weapon does carry this map a lot, so I'm gonna put it like a little bit higher up on the list because of that. I think I'm gonna put it. I'll put it right in front of Togder Toten. I think that's kind of where it belongs. Yeah, Forsaken, the only like complaint that I really have about it is the map layout is really bad. Like, it's just like campaign missions and multiplayer maps kind of smashed together. Doesn't really feel too much like a zombies map, just kind of feels like a recycling bin. But yeah, Forsaken isn't too bad. I'll put it definitely in this tier right here. I think that's kind of where it belongs. And yeah, that wraps up Cold War. I just realized midway through that I forgot Grossenhaus from World War II. Yeah, very forgettable map. That kind of explains kind of where it belongs. Definitely down here somewhere. It wasn't too bad, but I don't know. I didn't really like it. The map layout was very tight corridor, very hardcore map for a basic zombie player concept like a survival map. Didn't really make sense to me, but yeah, Grossenhaus, sure, D tier, I guess. Anyways, moving on. Oh boy. Yeah. I said that there wouldn't be a map worse than Transit. I was wrong. Duranfang, only current zombies map that I haven't played yet. I haven't played Vanguard. Refused to play it. I saw like 2 minutes of gameplay of Duranfang and I instantly gave up on the game. So I think F tier is definitely where most people would agree where it belongs. But yeah, that does wrap up the list. If I didn't forget anything, I'm pretty sure I got everything. We have the Giant as well, which, I mean, it's the same as Darius. I'm just gonna put it like right behind Darius, I guess. They're interchangeable. So yeah, that's this list for me. Top 5 maps: Drazen Jack, Ancient Evil, Shadows, Origins. Um, I wouldn't say Darius is one of my favorites. I'd probably give it to like Mod and Garad Krovi, but because of the impact that Darius had, it has to be up here. Same with the Giant. Um, Zombies in Spaceland. Again, I would actually put that as like the top 5. I would put it like this. And yeah, these 5 right here would probably be my top 5. I really love Zombies in Spaceland, and just these 4 right here are just like the go-to maps whenever I want to do an Easter egg or play zombies in general. Then down here, I think this list is all correct. I know some people are going to be really pissed about stuff like the Final Reich and Blood of the Dead and whatnot, but especially Varuk too. But I don't know. For me, these 2 ones are like personal favorites, and the Final Reich is just an underrated masterpiece of World War II. So yeah. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, and see you in the next one.